Hello, everyone. Welcome to the second edition of these inspiring conversations. I'd like to welcome my wonderful guest. He's already had me laughing this morning, Jordan Wilson. Morning, Jordan.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you. So let me introduce you to Jordan Wilson. Jordan is prolific on LinkedIn, and he's someone that I've really been keen to interview. He alleges that I may be the last person who's going to interview him for free before people are going to have to start paying significant sums of money. And that belies the belief of the man, because Jordan has an exceptional brand behind him. So let me read you a little bit about Jordan from his LinkedIn profile. So Jordan is the creator and the founder of STIGMA Clothing. It's created by Jordan at a time of uncertainty. Jordan was diagnosed with bipolar disorder in 2018. He'd struggled with his mental health since being a teenager. Throughout his life, Jordan struggled to fit in a way in which society tells us to live. Depression, anxiety, mood swings, all part of Jordan's life. And this has made it very difficult for him to hold down any consistency in aspects of his life, whether this was a career, social life, or relationship. But Jordan, you talk very openly that one day your life changed forever. And this happened as you could not see a way out of coping with your mental illness. You're tired of not being able to understand your own emotions. And in 2018, Jordan unsuccessfully, thankfully, attempted to take his own life. And in his own words, has never been the same since. So let me give you a bit of a roll call, because I'm going to let the man himself tell you about the fantastic journey that you've been on and how lockdown has positively impacted you, your mindset, your creative edge, because you've taken on the challenge of fighting the stigma that surrounds mental health. And actually, you've brought out a clothing range in 2021, STIGMA Clothing. I just asked him for a discount. He won't give me one, and he won't give anyone else one. So expect to pay the full price, because it's worth every penny. But Jordan has completed projects alongside the BBC, His Royal Highness Prince William, Mercedes-Benz, and various other health charities. So it gives me enormous pleasure to welcome you, Jordan. So thank you for being here today.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me on.
Oh no, it's our absolute pleasure. So we've started with the end in mind. You've created this amazing brand. First of all, tell us, how is the brand going, the STIGMA brand?
It's going well. It's from January to now, it's gone far bigger than I could have ever imagined. It's moving, the rapid increase of the actual business and how many people are actually interested in what we're doing. I couldn't comprehend it back in January that this would be me now, and I would be sat here. Put it this way, in January, where I am now, because just to let people know is I'm actually still working out my spare bedroom. We're not anything special at the moment. We're still working out my spare bedroom, and that's how grounded we are. But this bedroom in January was full of clutter. It still is full of clutter, but useful clutter now. Do you know what I mean? And it was just full of clutter. We couldn't even get in here. And yeah, it's mind blowing.
It is mind-blowing, because we spoke a few weeks ago, and you sort of told me a little bit about how you're a trained barber, and that during lockdown you were claiming credits, and basically you talked about having a spare bit of money, and it really was a small amount of money, and you're just thinking, right, this is it. So tell us a little bit about how it actually manifested from January.
So yeah, obviously, like I said, I'm a barber. I had my own shop last year. Ended up kind of giving that away for the financial reasons. I'm £8,500 in debt. 2020 is horrendous for me, absolutely horrendous, as it was for everyone, don't get me wrong. And I'm sat there in December, and I'm just, my mental health shot, absolutely shot, don't know what I'm going to be doing. I can't cope with the fact that I might be going back to work again, and then all of a sudden the government might pull the plug again, and then I can't work again. And this is how it was for me all the time. It was, you can, you can't, you can, you can't. So like I said, I'm on universal credits. I'm getting £300 a month. That's all I've got to live off, and that's got to pay for my rent, my bills, everything. Unfortunately, I slipped through the net of the 5% who missed out on any kind of bounce back loan or anything like that, and that was frustrating, because it was hard to try, and any money I did get just went off paying my debts anyway, and it was just hard to handle mentally. And it was hard because before that, we were thriving at the shop, and it was going well, and I was paying off all my debts, and I think I was only about £1,000 away from the start. You know, when I say my debts, I mean like the start business debt that you get into when you kind of take a loan, and you know, and I was only about £1,000 away from paying it off, and then all of a sudden I'm like 8.5 grand in debt again. And I'm like, wow, how's this happened? Because I've not been able to live. You know, I'm scrimping and scraping to try and pay, you know, my fiance some money for bills and stuff like that. And God bless her, like I would not have been able to get through this without her, not a chance, because she has took me under her wing, and she's really, really trusted and believed in me in times where I just didn't think I could make it through again. But she has kept me strong. So without her, ultimately, Stigma wouldn't be here today.
And that's the thing, because you know, Stigma is the culmination of this lifelong journey that you've had. So without you know, undermining or belittling actually everything you've had to go through, can you tell the people that are watching this and listening to this, you know, the journey? Because you did get a late diagnosis, didn't you? You know, how you're 28 now, aren't you, Jordan?
Yeah, I'm 28. Yeah. So I was around about 2018. I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder, and it was. I wouldn't say it didn't change my life. It never, like, I didn't just hear this news and like think, oh, brilliant, like, you know, I've got answers and everything, and you know, everything just makes sense now and what have you. It's like the truth is things did make a little bit more sense, like in terms of when I really researched into bipolar disorder and what bipolar disorder was, and I kind of got some answers within me as to why I was who I was, and why my mood changed so much, and why I just couldn't deal with certain situations and stuff. But it certainly wasn't an excuse for me to just poo-poo all my, you know, my previous actions and not take responsibility for it. It was just a case of, okay, I have a diagnosis, I've got something to go off. You know, we can try and adapt my life now around what I know.
Exactly. So, and you speak so well about your bipolarism, because you also have another diagnosis, don't you, which is
ADHD. Yeah.
ADHD. So, can you tell people what it is like to live? I mean, you describe it so brilliantly to me, and we had a bit of a giggle before we came online about which Jordan we'd get today. So, would you like to say to people what it is like to live with bipolar and ADHD, and how that manifests?
So, if you imagine that you've got three of yourself in the same room, and it's like you've got Jordan, who's speaking now, thankfully, because like I said to you, I weren't lying. I literally woke up about 15 minutes. I was awake all night till about 7 o'clock this morning. I fell asleep, and then my phone started bleeping. I was like, oh, bugger, I've got a podcast in 15 minutes. Got to jump on that, you know. So I literally put some water through my hair, put a bit of wax in it, put my hoodie on, and I'm like, right, nothing on underneath here. You can't see below.
Oh my goodness. We don't need any more detail on that. Just stay seated.
No, I'm joking. I've got me joking. But imagine if there's three of yourself in the same room, and you know you've got Jordan as you're speaking now, then you've got the Jordan who's depressed, and you've got a Jordan who is just like high as a kite, and like it's hilarious really, because it's like I can having this conversation. The way you describe it is like having a conversation in my head all the time, and it's like I'm sat there, and then all of a sudden there'll be this Jordan who just gives it like, you know, I want to kill myself, you know, and then I come out and give it, no, you don't. Stop being an idiot. Why are you being a daft? Why are you saying stuff like that? And then there's this other Jordan in the room that's just going, let's go and get ice cream. Come on, let's go and get ice cream. Come on. Let's go now. Let's go now. And he's like, I'm like, whoa, chill out. Just chill out for a second. I'm going to do it one day. No, you're not. Stop being an idiot. Stop being an idiot, because you're not going to do it one day. Ice cream. It's like my head's just pulled from pillar to post all the time. Sometimes it's hard to just take a step back and just sit down, and actual facts is like, I want to run 1,000,000 miles per hour everything I do. I just like want to pass me the ball and I'll run. Like I just want to go. Sometimes, and this is what I say to everybody, I actually have to be quite honoured that I do have these diagnoses, because they're not all bad. Because honestly, when I say they're not all bad, some of my diagnoses allow me to just get that hyper-focused in something that I do, that I excel at it, and I go with it, and nobody can touch me, because it's a case of I know what Jordan needs right now and know what Jordan's outlook of this wants to be. So therefore, I have this idea in my head. So let's just go and catch me if you can, you know. And then usually the worst bit is when you crash at the other side and you just give it like I'm done now and I need to go and lie down and spend an hour in bed or whatever. I would say nowadays I'm a hell of a lot better at managing the depressed side of Jordan. Him and I had to have a sit down and have some serious conversations with each other and had to get to know each other. And I still don't understand him 100%. I feel like I do. I feel like I'm in control of him. I feel like we're quite good mates now. And, you know, and it sounds weird because I'm speaking in third person about myself, do you know? But literally that's how it feels. It's not like I don't completely change as a person, but when I'm depressed, it's just my mood. It's just like I'm still Jordan, but it's just I can't see any good positive outlooks on stuff. And yeah,
and we talked about that, didn't we, at length, you know, and honestly, I could talk to you for hours because you're so interesting, but you talked about how, you know, that's been difficult for your family and friends and people around you over the years, hasn't it? You know, in terms of that complexity, you know, I sort of likened it to say, well, you're like trying to manage 2 children, really, aren't you? Your parenting skills will be off the charts, you know, trying to keep these 2 elements of you happy, but also people on the outside of you who maybe don't understand the dynamic of how you move between those 3 people, those 3 versions of yourself. So how have you navigated that in your life today, you know, people around you?
It's a nightmare. It's a nightmare. I lose relationships like there's no tomorrow in terms of friends and family, and you know, even with women when I was, you know, on the market and such. But it's a nightmare. It really is, because nobody can keep up with me. I'm a million miles per hour, and that's hard. And even my own family, I feel, don't understand me, and it's hard because I'm in a situation right now where my family won't speak to me because they think I'm manipulative and this, and that's hard, you know, and I won't lie, that is the truth. I get branded as, you know what, you're a narcissistic, manipulative, this, and I'm like, yeah, hello, like I am, and I'm, you know, I'm not unaware of this. This is something that I deal with, you know. It's like, this is, you're saying it to me like I don't know what you're on about, when in actual fact I'm totally aware that I am narcissistic and I am manipulative at times. But
you're also, you may not ever say this about yourself, but you are such a lovely, kind person as well.
And you know,
there's a post of you, isn't there, on LinkedIn? It's got 3 pictures blended together, and I'd really urge people to get onto Jordan's LinkedIn page and take a look, because it really shows the 3 elements of you, doesn't it?
Yeah, and it's hard because, you know, like I said, I cannot use this as an excuse. Like, it is me, and I have to deal with it, and I have to understand it. But it's tough because I feel like, you know, my family, for example, are the closest, you know, people to me, and I feel like if they can't understand who I am or try to understand who I am, then how are many others meant to understand who I am? I'm not perfect. I've made many of mistakes. I've been a bad person at times in life. I won't sit here and deny that. You know, I've had a bit of a problematic upbringing. You try and control a teenager with all this going on in his head. We talk about, you know, childhood trauma and stuff that's kind of stayed with me all my life that has just never been able to be released. And when we talk about those things that are, you know, childhood traumas and stuff, and I'm not saying that I wasn't abused. I wasn't physically abused. I wasn't like sexually abused or anything like that. It was more things like emotional kind of, just things that maybe a 13-year-old lad shouldn't have seen, and a 12-year-old lad shouldn't have seen, in terms of, you know, shouting and screaming and fights going on in front of him. And when I've been doing a lot of research into this recently, and you know, it's a case of when something that young, because we are obviously a product of our upbringing, when we see a situation that causes us trauma as children or kids, those situations become so deep rooted within our personality that when you grow older, you're going to have so many insecurities around that thing that happened to you when you was a child, and it's not your fault. It's just subconsciously there no matter what, because of how it made you feel. It's almost like a post-traumatic stress disorder, you know. It's like it's a case of, it's so deep rooted into who we are as a person that even though we don't want to be that person, our subconsciouses will not let that go, you know. And to try and overcome those deep rooted situations is not easy. And you know, and you can't just do it overnight. And I know for a fact that there's still things now I'm 28 that still affect me now from being a child. And to other people and to other, like, you know, family members and things like that, it's a case of, will you just let it go? Will you just let it go? It was all those years ago. Will you just let it go? And the problem is I can't. You know,
and
I can't.
And you know, Jordan, this is what I do with my clients a lot of the time, because what we mop up when we're a small person, we don't really fully understand, but we absorb it 100%. And that's what you're talking about. It's like we can't make sense of it. You know, why would someone treat me like that? Why would someone do that unkind thing to me? Why didn't someone love me enough or spend enough time with me? And you're right, we take that into adulthood. But the really shocking thing is it becomes part of our identity, and we react to things before we even know about it. And that's what then forms our personality. You know, so if we've always had difficult relationships in the past, we'll have difficult relationships in the future. And you know, coming back to that, we spoke previously about your grandfather. So although you did have these difficulties, and I know it's just lovely, I mean, there you go, there's an instant reaction. You know, you only have to think about him, because he really was such a positive role model in your life. And your nana as well, wasn't she? You know, is, you know, still. So tell us a little bit about them, because the reality is, in a difficult journey and not getting a diagnosis and going through the teenage years as you would have done, how much of a stability were they, and are they now? Obviously, your grandfather's no longer with us. Tell us a bit about them.
So the story is when I was a little bit younger, my dad was in, you know, he's quite a successful person himself in business. He was in well, he worked for the corporate insurance for 20 odd years. And he used to finish in like certain rankings of like sales and stuff. And he was always in the top 10, you know, top salesman in the country and stuff. So I guess I've got to thank him for that kind of thing as well, because maybe I've got a little bit of that in there. So he used to win weekends away and stuff all the time, you know, World Cup trips to go and watch England play in the World Cup, Venice, Prague, New York, Brussels, all sorts. So every you know, they'd be away a lot of the time, like they'd win trips. So that would be just my mum and dad going away together, because it was, you know, +1 type thing. And it was a case of, when that used to happen, there was either one or three scenarios used to happen. My mum's mum either used to come to our house and look after us all, but not tend to be the case, because I don't think she liked dealing with us all at once. So she did do that sometimes, but then other times we would get sent to other grandparents' houses. Now, it was a case of my older brother. I'm not too sure about my older brother, because from my memory, I can't remember, because he's 10 years older than me. So I'm trying to think around. So if I'm like 6, he's 16, you know, so maybe he got away with it. Maybe he was allowed to stay at home by himself a little bit. So I can't really remember, but I know that he did used to go to my granny's. And but my other two sisters used to go to my dad's mum's house, and she was like, she's dead like cool granny. She's like, she was always gran. She weren't granny, she was gran. And she, like, you know, she'd do some really awesome stuff with us. She'd take us to like the zoos, and she got to, you know, Blackpool Pleasure Beach and stuff like that, and that was great. She'd always have something planned for us when we were kids, and you know, that was fantastic. And I couldn't be trusted to go with my two sisters to my grand's, because I knew that my mum knew that I'd drive her mad. I'd absolutely and I'd come back and I'd just be wild for the rest of the week, and my mum didn't want that. So my mum sent me to my dad's, and this is a funny relationship as well, as because, you know, my dad had not the best of relationships with his father, and this is something that has, even, you know, this situation, what I'm about to tell you, this is something that's followed me into my adult life as well, because I've had to try and defend somebody that I loved so deeply rooted, because of the fact that I just loved them so much. And basically what happened was, when my granddad was a lot younger, he had 3 children. He walked away from his marriage with 3 kids, so with another woman, you know. And obviously this is before I'm even around. My dad's still a young lad, you know, and obviously that will have made my dad's life and his siblings' life and my granny's life held. You know, she will have gone through a lot of, especially back in times when, you know, they didn't really have much. And my dad grew up on a council estate, you know, and it was went to one of the rougher schools in Preston and stuff. And it's funny because when we talk about that, I ended up not so long back having a fallout with my gran, because I put a post on Facebook, and I've come off social media because this is for this bloody exact reason, because it's so toxic. I put a post up of my granddad, and my granddad was who my granddad meant to me. He was, I got my granddad. That's all I got to see was my granddad, and it was a post around, you know, and why we do these posts, it's just stupid, I don't know, but it was a post around how much I miss him, and I just posted a picture, and I actually, you know, unfortunately, my gran decided to post on the picture and say that he was a bit an evil man and stuff like this and blah, 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 which I didn't take kindly, because he was my granddad, and I got that feeling of, I've got to protect him because he's not around here anymore to protect himself. And I completely got where my gran was coming from, but I didn't want to hear it, because to me he was my hero, and I had to protect myself. So we ended up having a fallout, and I've not spoke to her since, which is hard, because when you love someone that much, that it's a case of, you know, I'm not going to let his name be badmouthed. The one thing I will say about my granddad is he left his family and went with this other woman, but he was with this other woman for the rest of his life. And although, you know, things like that are frowned upon, especially back then, you know, it was obviously love, because he spent the rest of his life with her. And she's now, well, my nan as such, you know, because she was born into, and she's no like blood relation to me whatsoever. But she's unbelievable. Honestly, she's just like my best friend. She's going to be my best woman at my wedding.
Well, you know, I watched that video where you went round, didn't you? I think you had the ring, didn't you? The engagement ring, and you asked her what she thought of it, and it was lovely. And I don't think she knew what to say. She didn't, but she was so gorgeous and lovely with you.
She opened it up and she went, "Right, it's that," and I went, "Yeah," and she went, "What is it?" I went, "It's a ring," and she went, "All right," and I went, "I'm going to ask Ellie to marry me," and she went, "Oh yeah," like, you know, and I was like, "Yeah," and then I went anyway. So I said to her, "Well, you know, if my granddad had been here, I'd have asked him to be my best man. But as he's not, you know, I want the next best thing as such, which is you. And would you be my best woman?" And then she says, "Dog's eating out at the ball." She looks at me and she goes, she doesn't know what to say. She looks down at dog and gives it, "Have you eaten all that, you greedy little bugger?" You know, and I'm like, "Oh, listen in, tune in here." You know, so she's like,
yeah, this is a big emotional moment.
So yeah, she accepted, and she's gonna be my best woman. But going back to that childhood thing, was when I went to my granddad's on the weekends that my mum and dad used to go away, it was a case of, we didn't do anything special. We'd do things like we'd clean out my nan's ornament cupboard, polish everything up, and we'd play shops, and I'd sell everything back to her at 2p, you know. And it was like, she'd go, "How much is this?" And I'd be like, valuing it, you know, like bargain type thing. And really, we were just polishing all her ornaments. But I used to love stuff like that. And we used to shred paper. I found it amazing. She had a wind-up shredder, and I used to be like, as a kid. And the funny thing is we never did anything special. A walk out down the woods with the dog was about as special as it got. But the thing is that is what I needed. It was like, I needed someone one-to-one time with Jordan who just sat down with him on a level and just did normal things with him, you know, and just didn't mollycoddle him. You know, my granddad never told me that he loved me in his life, but I knew he did. You know, I knew he did. And it was a case of we didn't need to. And even as I got older, we'd sit in the kitchen and I'd come round and he'd open the door and he'd go, all right, grandson. And I'd say, aye, all right, yeah. And we've got my Lancastrian head on now. So I was like, you all right? Aye, yeah, not so bad. We'd go in the kitchen, we'd sit down, we'd have eggheads on, replay from last night, eggheads on BBC Two. We'd sit down, we'd watch it. What's there been up to? Oh, there's not much. You? No, not much. You know, and he would go, sat there, you know, oh, not a question to this one. Yeah, Bill Murray, you know, we'd just be answering stuff like that. And all of a sudden, like, I remember once he sat there and he says, Molka's at work. So my grandma's called Molka.
Oh, brilliant.
Well, she's called Malka, Malka, right? But because we're from Lancashire, we call her Molka. So it's like, her name's Malka, but apparently it's a Jewish name, but she's not Jewish, so she don't know why.
No.
But it's funny, yeah, so I would call her Molka, and he says to me, Molka's at work. And I said, I know, I said, I want to see you. He went, all right, she loves you, you know. She loves you, you know. She's really fond of you, you know. I said, I know, Grandad. I said, no. I said, well, you know, this money that we keep giving you, this like 20 quid out flying, this, that, and the other, because this is what I used to do all the time. I said, yeah, it's not from me, you know, it's from her. And I go, all right, like, you know, I said, like, but I don't know what you want me to say. Anyway, one day he just went, will you do me a favour? Like, will you look after her when I'm not here? And I said, of course I will, like, you know. I said, he went, well, you know, she's no family and, you know, she's nobody, like, she hasn't got any cousins or, like, brothers, sisters, obviously nothing. And I said, of course I will, Grandad. I said, you don't even have to worry about that. And I think that's about as emotional as he ever got with me, really. But otherwise, we'd just, you know, he'd say stuff to me, like, and get a bit cheeky with him, and he'd go, hey, can your mother stitch this? And he'd like throw an headbutt like stuff, you know. So it was quite funny. Yeah, he was a great fella. He was nothing special, and that's exactly what I needed. I didn't need impressing. I didn't need all this, you know, sugarcoating of stuff. I just needed someone to sit with me, calm me down, you know. And don't get me wrong, you won't mess with him. Like, he'd tell you straight if you walked out of line. Remember once I used his computer without asking. My God, I thought you were going to lever me. But he were, to me, he was just something special, and nobody else got that authentic self of him, you know, and that was nice. But yeah,
and can I say that is the antidote for a lot of mental health issues. You know, when we think about our mental well-being, our wellness generally, really what we crave is connection with people.
Yeah.
To feel respected, to feel appreciated, to feel like you're valued. And, you know, there is something very wholesome about, and we spoke about this before, it's not necessarily the amount of time you give someone, but it's the quality of that time that you give someone. And I think we've become beguiled in this technological era that it's got to be big, it's got to be flashy, it's got to be expensive. It doesn't need to be any of those things. It just needs to feel real, and you need to feel like it's for you and you alone. And I think your granddad was onto something, wasn't he? He really, and you know, his wife as well. They were onto something. And I think when you say nothing special, I understand that beautiful sentiment. It's simplicity, isn't it? It's the simplicity of it all. But actually, asking you to look after his wife actually is a massive nod to you about how much he respected you. And how much he thinks of you. And so it's really important. There's always going to be someone in a child's life, and often it can be a teacher, it could be someone who just looked at you in a certain way and believed in you.
Yeah.
That makes you feel special. We need to do more of that, don't we, Jordan? In this life, we need to reach out to people and make them feel like they matter, because social media does the opposite in a lot of ways. It makes you feel like you don't matter.
I hate it. I hate social media. The only reason I'm not on any social media bar, LinkedIn and Twitter, and I barely use Twitter. Twitter is for belonging for me as well. For me, with my football fans, I'm a Preston North End fan.
Yes.
Got my mug here.
Yes, well, I was going to get on. I was going to get on to your football connections at Preston North End in just a moment. But yeah,
so I'm not on any social media bar too, and it was one of the best decisions I made. Something got really toxic in my life, and I had to just take a step away from it. And you know what? The withdrawals from social media are horrible. Like, it's an addiction, like it really is, and people don't realize that it is such an addiction.
Can you describe them to us? Because I think there are a lot of people, I myself spent a lot of time on social media. And actually, we already know, don't we, that social media is all about dopamine release. It makes it addictive. So what can people expect if you are going to come off it? I mean, how did it affect you?
Social anxiety, just like, what's everybody saying about me? Or like, I'm paranoid, like, all the time. It was like, you know, I've got to know what people are doing. I've got to know what people are saying. Like, just keep like, and you know what I did? I kept the apps purposely on my phone because I thought if I don't, then that's too much. But I logged out of them all, right? And the amount of times I'd have my phone, and I'd be scrolling on my phone. I didn't know what to do, you know, like, because obviously I'm on my phone. If you get rid of social media on your phone, you watch how little you use it. It's like, it really is like so weird.
That's a real strength of character, though, I would say, Jordan, because I think a lot of people would even struggle with the idea of turning the notifications off, let alone taking the apps off.
Yeah, exactly. It is. So I turned the notifications off, and I kept the apps. And I'd find myself, I'd be on my phone, and maybe I kept WhatsApp, so I kept WhatsApp to contact with people and stuff. And I'd like find myself like on my phone, and I'd click Facebook, and the login screen of Facebook would come up, and I'd go, "Oh shit, yeah!" And I'm allowed to swear or not?
Yeah, it's a real word. It's a real word, Jordan.
Right. So I was like, "Oh shit, yeah." I've got to knock that off, like, because I've come off it. So I came off it, and then I'd be like doing something else on my phone, and then I click back on Facebook and log in. I'd be like, "Fucking hell!" Like, subconsciously, you've not even realised that you've just. You know, how many times do you try and sit there on your phone for an hour when you're on it? Do you come off an app, right, and then scroll right or scroll left, and then immediately go back on the app? It's unbelievable. Like, you won't realize how many times you do it. Like, you will close Facebook down, shut it, and then, you know, open it back up again without even thinking. And you've got to remember that these platforms now are you know, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that they're all bad. It's just about how you manage them. It's a case of, if you can, you know, I would say my advice to anybody is to keep your social platforms as minimalistic as you can. You know, keep your family on them, keep it so close that, you know, because you've got to protect yourself from this outside world, because a world on social media is a world of hate. You've got to be so prepared to be hated. That's what you have to be. You have to be so psyched up in the world to know that you're going to be hated. And that's the mindset that you've got to go into with everything on social media, because one bad comment can be so derogative to your own mind that you've got to be prepared for it, and you've got to be self-aware of it. You've got to just think, you've got to kind of think and be prepared for the worst outcome of everything, because that is literally what could go wrong. And you've got to think, if I post this, what is the worst thing that can happen? Now, you know, there's things I'm reading I'm on second time of reading it, Stephen Bartlett's book, which is Happy Sexy Millionaire, which is a fantastic book at the moment. Like I said, it's the second time of reading it. He's actually sent me a signed copy, which is lovely of him.
Fabulous.
And I said I'm going to call mine like, what was that? He says Happy Sexy Millionaire. I'm going to say chunky universal credits but funky, or something like that. And I just say, like, look, it's gonna be
a bestseller.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, you've got to be so prepared. And obviously, when you speak about, you know, when you're looking for a magnitude, and, you know, don't get me wrong, I have dreams in my head of Stigma becoming something big, and I'd love it to become something big. But then you also have to sit there and be mindful of all these years ahead of that road, that what is the worst that can happen? You know, because he talks a lot about some of the stuff that gets brought up about him in the papers and this, that, and the other. And, you know, I actually go, bloody hell, like, how would my mind comprehend that happening? You know, like, if it came out that, you know, that there was a girl I was once seeing, and this happened and that happened and stuff like that, because that's what he compares it to, about like some girl that he you know, he doesn't barely know as said that whatever, or this happened and stuff, and people coming out in the papers and saying that about you and stuff. Can you comprehend? And the one person that I really, really resonate to this, which about newspapers have ruined his life, is Paul Gascoigne, because they've just absolutely riddled his mind with so much hate and self-doubt and and it kills me, because, this British English icon as such, who was so well thought of once upon a time, I think
it's awful, because they've made him so they've made him turn in on himself, haven't they, because of their behaviour. He's so
it's
vulnerable.
a criminal act. It should be a criminal act.
It should be a criminal act. You're absolutely right, and that's the whole thing about stigma, isn't it? You're really pushing for it, because one of the things I didn't mention is, every month you are doing something, aren't you, with your brand? This is every month, Stigma. We'll tell people what you're doing every month with charities.
What we do is we just run an awareness campaign. So basically, it's not like we're giving millions away to charity, but it's an awareness campaign of we choose a different small charity every month, and we let the nation know about this charity. Because one thing that I was very conscious of was, when I was in a bad place and I went to see the NHS, they were telling me it was 6 to 12 months away from me seeing anybody. Well, I didn't want to be here now. So I'm going to, comprehend that again in my mind, 12 months away, that I've got to sit and wait and go, well, like I said, I don't want to be here now. So why am I going to wait 12 months, And at the time, I didn't know of any local resources to me that could have helped me, And it's hard because, people I think, again, your family kind of take it as a bit of an insult that you don't confine in them to do this and do that with them. But it's literally the last thing that you want. You're crying out for it inside. You're crying out for someone to just come and give you a big hug and say, come on, mate, it's going to be all right. Like my brother or something. But then at the same time, you have so much anger and hate towards that person, because if the mindset you're in, that is in itself is a completely different problem.
Yeah.
And I didn't know of anybody local. And unfortunately, as we read out at the very beginning, my life ended up where something tragic could have happened. And, it's and only at the first lockdown did an old school friend of mine lose a life to suicide. And that was absolutely you know what? I've been through a lot of funerals and stuff in life, and I've never ever been as sad at a funeral in my life. And the week before it and the week after it, I cried like a baby every single day. You know what? And this is the funny thing is this girl who I speak of, we weren't close friends. Like, when we was younger, we were really close friends. When we went to primary school together, we used to get taken out of class to go to special ed classes together because we were both a bit slow. We used to call ourselves we used to say we're going to thick class now, so we'd laugh and stuff. And we'd get taken out and we'd have special ed lessons together, and we'd walk home together because she only lived around the corner. We'd I'd go around to her house and her dad would walk me home, and we were just kids, vulnerable, innocent kids and stuff. And then really, as we left high school, she was a good friend of mine all the way up until end of primary school. And then high school, I went to a school, she went to a school. We didn't keep that connection at all. And I'd see her, and if I'd see her, I'd say hello, but it wasn't like we were pally best mates, But I'll always have that childhood memory of when we were close and where we were really good friends. And it was a case of, when I found out, my heart broke into a million pieces. Like, it really, really, really hurt me. And I felt quite guilty, because I felt like, you've no right to be guilty about this, Jordan, because you've not spoke to her for the last 10 years. Like, you're not, when I say not spoke to her, I've said hello to her, but not like, I was like, you've no right to feel this guilty. You've actually, you shouldn't feel this guilty. You shouldn't feel this bad, and you shouldn't feel like so upset about it, because you've not even been part of her life for the last 10 years, And that wasn't because I was being malicious or anything. We just grew apart as people. But my God, it hurt me. It hurt me so bad. Like, I remember. So I turned up at a funeral, and it was packed. It was like absolutely packed full of people, And I just remember like old lads my age being there, and old lads who I grew up with, and other people. And
do you think it made you almost transpose that onto yourself in some way, that actually if you'd have been successful in seeing through your own attempt?
I guess subconsciously, yes, but I don't want to sound like that, because I think that would be a very narcissistic thing of me to think that. I think that would be, I think the God's honest truth answer is yes, but no, I don't want to kind of sit there.
No. And I'm saying that because the reality is the brain responds to outside experiences, and
Yeah.
we can't help but make connections around things. We do that just naturally anyway. That's how the brain works.
I mean, yes, there was definitely that, and there was a woman who came up to me, and I've not seen her for donkey's years. She was a dinner lady at primary school, right? And she was a dinner lady, and her and her husband were always quite involved with the school. They did a lot of events with the school, and they did football tournaments that they put on and stuff, because she was, and I've not seen her for years, but she was always lovely. She was always a lovely woman. And I remember coming up to me, and she said to me, she said, "Hey," she gave me a nudge, and she went, "Hey," she went, "I saw you on that documentary of a week on telly." And I went, "Oh, did you?" And she went, "God, you've some bottled you." She went, "You've some bottled you." And she went, "This is going to hit you hard, isn't it?" And I said, "Yeah." And I broke down into tears, and I said, "Yeah, it is," And she went, "Yeah." And she went, "You just look after yourself." And I thought, for a woman to have not spoken to for years, to just come to me and say that to me was absolutely lovely. And she was the only person that kind of said that to me, but it wasn't about me. And I know that it wasn't about me, but I was stood there with my brother. And my brother was in floods of tears, because my brother, this girl's dad was my brother's boss for a lot of time. So we had a good family connection as well.
Yeah.
And I remember like stood there at the funeral, and I was heartbroken. I was just couldn't stop my tears flooding down my face. And this poor girl, like, I just couldn't stop it. And I remember looking up and seeing her family there, and just thinking, how are they doing this? Like, how, like, it couldn't make sense of it. Like, how is this actually happening? And at the end of the funeral as such, I remember her dad walking towards myself and my brother, and he went straight up to my brother, because obviously he was quite good friends with my brother. And I weren't even listening to the conversation that they're having, because all I could think in my head was, he's going to turn to me in a minute. He's going to turn to me in a minute. What the hell am I going to say? What the hell am I going to say? What do you say to someone? Because I'm not being funny, but sorry for your loss doesn't quite cut it, does it? So what am I going to say to this man when he turns to me? And he turned to me, and I went, "I'm so sorry for your loss, Paul." And I just put my hand out to shake. I was like, "Why did you say that? Why did you say that? What is, why would you say that to him? Like, why?"
I think you speak for thousands of people, though. I think because, I've done some videos with, there's a fantastic gentleman who I'd love to put you in touch with, Steve Phillip, and his son Jordan is no longer with us, and he set up the Jordan legacy.
I've spoken to Steve.
Oh, brilliant. So the Jordan legacy, and the reality is, there's over 134 people affected by each completed suicide. So there's so many of us who don't know what to say.
Do you want to know something which just absolutely turned my head in terms of, wow, like, this man is something special? Like, because I said what I said, and I put my hand out to shake his hand,
Yeah.
And he went, "Come here."
And he gave you a hug.
He gave me a hug. I remember he gave me a hug, and I was crying in this, in this man's like shoulder as such. And he just buried his daughter, and I'm like, wow, my head just exploded with like this emotion that I never felt before. Is in like, what, this guy is something extreme, to be able to do this. And I went home, and I cried for days on end. I cried for days on end about it. Honestly, I really did. It really did affect me. It really did.
And have you used that? I mean, have you used that to a positive effect then, in terms of the charities? In terms of, is that what then drives this need to make the resources available for other people, or to show people that the resources are there if people can access them?
I mean, yeah, I think it's just a pretty good thing to do, to be honest with you. I don't think too much into it. You know, it's like, look, I'm just doing it because I can do it, and it's not because of any other reason. Like, it's not because I want to show that I'm a good person or this, that, and the other. I'm just saying, look, these are here, and I'm making a bit of a fuss about it, but I don't want to build the complete business model around it because it's a case of, you know, it's just something that I do personally. It's like, look, this is a charity. This is where they're based. This is what they do. I give them 500 quid at end of month. And it's a case of, this is just what I do. I just let people know that these there. And if they want to use it, they want to use it. And it's just about, someone might one day just go, oh, well, I remember that. And I can't go to NHS because I might go and use their services. And, you know,
it's just so you're so humble though, Jordan. You really are. And I think coming back to people like your friend's dad and people like Steve Phillip, you know, they make it their life's work to ensure that no one goes through what they've been through. And I think that's the power, isn't it? That you know, that they are on that journey too. And you know, their drive, I mean, anyone who knows Steve Phillip, you know, his passion for what he does. I've interviewed him, and you know, we're in touch, and his passion is just palpable. You can feel it. You know, he's going to spend the rest of his life putting all his energy into making sure no other family has to go through what they continue to go through, because it doesn't end at the funeral, does it? It continues for those families every single day. And so tell me, how does a boy from Preston get to meet our future King of England? I mean, how did that turn up? Was that part of this documentary?
If I fell in a bag of shit, I'd come out smelling of roses, mate, honestly. I don't know. I always say that, like, you know, when, you know, obviously the whole law of attraction thing.
Oh, yes, which we talked about lots, didn't we? We're both massive fans of that. Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. I've just felt like my whole life I'm different, and I'm destined to be something. I've always felt it my whole life, and I know I've never fit in anywhere. My face hasn't fit in anywhere, like, my whole life. I've never been part of a big group of friends. I've never been part of anywhere that I've tried to be friends with people has just ended where I don't want to be involved because my mind just doesn't want to be involved in these social circuits. But I've always just felt like I'm gonna end up somewhere. My whole life, always thought it. Honestly, God's honest truth.
Lovely feeling. Yeah, brilliant.
Either I'm going to end up on stage being a comedian, or but I don't think I'm funny enough. Funny looking, like, but if I always thought, yeah, I'm either going to end up on stage being a comedian, or I'm just going to do something with my life where, you know, I wanted to do something with my life. My whole life, I've just wanted to have a purpose, really, because that's the one thing that I've never really found. And you've got to be careful what you wish for, ultimately, because, you know,
you'll get it. If you believe in the laws of attraction, what you think
and
you manifest.
You know, I seen this thing on Facebook about do you suffer with mental health issues? Are you a big football fan? Let us know how the two collide in your life, and how they help you cope with each other. So I wrote this email out, and I got a reply back, and I didn't really know. And it was a fella from London, and he says to me, can I come meet you? So I said, yeah, like, no problem. He said, right, I'll come up from London. We met at the cinema next to my house, where I lived at the time, and we just went for a Costa. There was a Costa inside it, and he sat down. And he asked me about all these emotions and stuff. We started talking about my granddad, and I started choking up a bit, as I do quite often when I talk about my granddad. And he said, right, basically, I'm working on behalf of the BBC, and we think you'd be perfect for this documentary that we're going to be filming, and we'd like you to be one of the main people in it. And would you be in it? And I said, well, yeah, like, you know, like, yeah. I didn't know much of it, like, you know, probably in my head I'm thinking, like, well, is there any money involved, like, you know? But yeah, and then next thing you know, the two directors have come up to Preston, and they've taken me out for some food, and, you know, it's been nice. It's been a good chat to them, meeting the people and stuff. And I'm walking back to the train station with them because they're going back down on the train, and they said, who's the most famous person you've ever met? And I said, well, probably myself. And, you know, it was true. Probably myself, well, in my own head anyway, you know. And he went, right, so, well, how would you feel if I told you that there was going to be somebody involved in this who was probably like the biggest person you could think of? And I'm going to meet David Beckham. Like, I'm going to meet David Beckham. Like, I'm buzzing. I'm like, brilliant, David Beckham. So like, what, David Beckham? It's like, no, not David Beckham. So
no,
like,
bigger than David Beckham.
you said it was the biggest person that I could have ever met, you know, and in my head, it was David Beckham. And who played for Preston, by the way.
And yourself, obviously, as well.
Yeah, and myself, yeah.
Yeah.
I meet him every day, though. Does me bloody head in. So he said, so who then, you know, who? And he just went, well, it's not confirmed yet, so we're going to hold off. So I was like, right, okay. It's the next time I met him, he said, like, how would you feel about meeting the Duke of Cambridge, you know, Principal Duke of Cambridge? And I was like, hold on a minute, because you got to remember that we're a little bit uneducated up north, you know what I mean? We terms at royal family and stuff, we, you know, Buckingham Palace and all that sort of stuff's a million miles away for us. So I'm like, Duke of Cambridge, I'm thinking, I went, Prince William? And he went, yeah. And I went, oh, I don't know what to do. Like, you know, I said, I'm a member of the royalty. Like, you know, I've no etiquette at my nan's on a Sunday for Sunday dinner, so I'm a man of like meet Prince William. And yeah, obviously I agreed jokingly. I did agree. And I remember on the day, the funny thing is, the day before I went down to Kensington Palace to meet him, I'd had my hand tattooed. Right.
Brilliant.
So my hand looks like Elephant Man, right? So it's like swollen up like, you know, when you blow a rubber glove up, like that, right?
Yeah, can you keep that out of the camera shot?
It looked like a cow's udder, honestly. And we went down. I'm like, bloody hell, I'm rubbing the panther on my hand and stuff, you know. And I took my suit down, you know, and anyway, so I put my suit on, put my three-piece on, like proper whistler and everything.
Wow, very smart.
I know, yeah, like no flies on me. I went down for breakfast and they said, can I have a quick word? I said, yeah. I probably think you're a bit overdressed. I'm like, you what? And he went, I probably think you're a bit overdressed. It's just that we've got the liaison with his team and he's just dressed how he normally is, you know, Ralph Lauren polo, zip-up fleece and stuff like that.
Casual.
And I think, well, of course he is, but I said, listen, if I don't wear a suit for this, my nan's going to kick my ass, like, you know. And he was like, well, have you got anything else? And I only had my tracksuit, and I was like, I've only got my tracksuit. I come down and I was only stopping over for one night and going back, so it was like overnight bag. So I only got my tracksuit. I can't wear my bloody tracksuit, like. So it ended. I think I left my blazer on, took my tie off, took my waistcoat off, and I was like smart cash, you know. And I thought,
perfect.
Right, well, I had my Doc Martens on.
Did you? Oh, brilliant. Good job the camera didn't pan down. It'd be like, oh, yeah, right, okay.
I had my Doc Martens on. And when we went down, there is actually like at the back of the palace, there's a football pitch. And it was where the royal team play or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And at the end of the pitch was a clubhouse, which obviously they all kind of got in. And in actual fact, they were telling me that... you know, they actually come down to watch games all together and stuff in here, like when big games are on, like England were playing.
Brilliant.
And stuff. They host parties there and stuff, and it's like this full bar stacked up with beer, and I'm like looking at whiskey thinking, God, I could have one of them right now, you know. Before I meet him, my nerves just shot, my hands like that. And
your swollen hand.
I know, yeah. And I'm sat there, and this young girl comes out. She's only about 18, and she was his PA or something like that for the day, or at least. And she's like, you know, talking back and forward. So she says to me, like, have you any questions? Like, and she's telling me, she's giving me all background and stuff. And I said, well, yeah. I said, be honest with you. I said, first question is, how do I greet him?
Yes.
You know, which is like, you know, I was genuinely serious. She kind of giggled and I went, no, but I'm serious. Like, do we have to bow to him or do we, you know, I didn't know. Like, it sounds daft, but would you know how to?
I'd have no idea. Not a Scooby-Doo.
And she says to me, well, she went, just approach him, put your hand out, shake his hand and say, we'd ask you to address him as Your Royal Highness the first time. And then after that, it's Sir, you know. And I said, right, okay, you know, I can do that. It's like being back at school, no problem.
Yeah.
And then I said, and she said, have you any more questions? I said, yeah. And they said, you're going to think I'm taking piss here, but I'm not. She went, what? I said, what happens if I call him mate? I said, because I will do. Because I'll be sat there going, oh, mate, you know, like, it's one of them things where you go, oh, mate, you know, and I think, I will do. And they all burst out laughing and said, and I was deadly serious. Like, I was like, I'm going to crumble if I do that. And she said, well, he's that nice of a guy that the chances are that he'll probably call you mate back.
Yeah.
You know, and I thought, oh, that, you know, really reassured me. Anyway, I'm like watching this figure walk across this field, down this field. He's like,
he's quite
massive.
tall, isn't he?
Oh, massive. I want to put right. So I'm like, I'm not tiny, right? But everybody I met in that documentary were at least 6'6". Honestly, every picture I look like Borrower. Like it's like I'm meeting my idol for the first time. Honestly, it is.
Borrower.
Honestly, yeah, he's like I met England team as well, so I went down to England camp and like I meet Tammy Abraham and Tyrone Mings, and they're like 6'6". I'm like, I'm literally like a little kid with my mascot suit on, like all looking up at him, you know. And yeah, and he walked into the clubhouse, and I said, I walked up to him and I said, it's a pleasure to meet you, Your Royal Highness. And he said, no, the pleasure's all mine. And he shook my hand. I immediately started crying because he gripped me hand that hard. I'm not kidding you. I was sat there with glow at me. I went, oh, don't squeeze it that hard. It was killing me. And then we sat down, and he really, really was such a humble, humble man.
It's a lovely interview. Is it available still for people to see?
It's not, unfortunately, it's not. No, it's a case of I have been in contact with the directors.
I was lucky enough to see it, and I've seen clips of it, and it's a really lovely exchange. It's like it's just the most natural, and I think that is one of William's strengths, isn't it? You know, he is a really natural, grounded person. You know, his mum has done a great, did a great job, like your granddad, maybe not here long enough, but done a great job.
Well, one of the things I said to him was, I said, we started talking, and at the end I said, he said something about the pitch out in the field, and I said, I was going to say you could do with a new groundsman. I said, anyway, I said, if you ever need a centre forward down here, give us a bell, right? And he laughed at me, he laughed and joked to me, and all the text messages I got from a few of my friends and stuff, like after it had aired, going, I can't believe you banter with next King of England. You take your piss, you know what I mean? Like but that was funny because that was Jordan. That's who Jordan is. And the other thing as well was really funny was it stopped me. Can I just say, you're one of the most articulate people that I've ever. Well, I'm sure you said it in a much better way than I just did. You're one of the most articulate person I've ever met. And I went, can I get you to put that on my CV and sign it? I said that's going to go in my reference.
Completely
articulate by Prince William, and it was just a really, really nice experience, an experience that not a lot of many people in life are going to get, and to think that I was sat there in front of the future king of this country was when I think about it now, was mind-blowing.
And may I say though, the seed of it started with your motivation to respond to an email. So you create, I believe that we create our own luck. And I do believe in the laws of attraction. And I think if we're focused in that way, that we do bring those things to us. So you created that opportunity for yourself. And I know you've said, you're going to be someone, And I suppose the last sort of point, the question I want to come to is really about that being someone. And you told me a beautiful story, which I've told so many people since you told it to me, about a video you watched to do with Jeff Bezos.
Oh yeah. So this is I completely forgot about that. So
I didn't remember, you see.
Yeah. So when we talk about is there a moment in your life that's changed your life? And mine was so insignificant yet so significant to me that it gave me a mindset that I needed. And I struggle to sleep at nights because of whatever reason, ADHD or my head's running wild or whatever it is. And when I do this at night, I end up watching like documentaries on. I never waste a night. If I'm in bed at night and I can't sleep, I learn. I put a documentary on around entrepreneurs or business, or even if it's.
And this is part of your ADHD thing, isn't it? You're feeding. It's like you really focus in. And
hyper focus. I have to learn every day. I have to learn something new. I have to teach myself and grow as a person. I have to I can't sit still. And I hate, the one thing that really is weird with this is, as a kid, I used to be obsessed with video games, all the time video games. And in the last year, since I've moved into this apartment, I haven't even turned my Xbox on, which is crazy because I used to be addicted to sitting there playing them all day. And I swear I have not even turned it on.
Good for you. You found something else.
Well, my head is just that focused on this, where I want to learn. So instead of me being addicted to video games all the time, it's being addicted to personal growth, to personal gain, to personal benefit of my own mind. And this is what I do. So I'm sat there one night and I wanted to watch one on Jeff Bezos, and it was a video of him when he was young and he was starting out in business, and they walk into his office and he has a photo of his, you know, of his first dollar on his wall. It's in a frame, you know, his first dollar and what have you. And I'm going to get this wrong, right? So I told you the other week, which isn't quite true, right? So what I told you isn't quite true because I rewatched it. I think I resent it, you didn't I?
Okay.
Did I not resend it you on LinkedIn?
Oh, you might have done. I've been on holiday, but I'll take a look. So remind the viewers anyway.
Yeah. So what I was going to say was, so I thought he was talking about another entrepreneur, but since then I found out that he's actually talking about a film, right? He's talking about a character out of a film, right? And this is what like blows my mind is, and I can't remember the film. Someone's going to in the comments is going to know what I'm talking about here, but I know the title of the film is something 3000. Okay. And it was about an AI system really that is in a car, and it's almost what we class as Alexa now. Do you know what it is? It is. It really is, and that's what blows my mind, because he's like back in 1990, whatever it was then, when he was doing this, he was creating this Alexa in his head. You know, all them years back then, and he has this cap, and he puts his cap on. And he says, and this is my whatever 3000 cap. And he said, and this is what he says, something along the lines of, and this is important to me because actually me and this character have the same birthday, 12th of January. And that's my birthday. But the minute I heard it, it clicked with me. It was like, oh my God, like he's believing this because his birthday's 12th of January. So I now, all this time, where I said I've been looking for something, some, you know, kind of sign that like, and people could go or poo-poo whatever, but yeah, I found out that I had the same birthday of Jeff Bezos, and my head just like, that's it, I'm going to be next Bill Gates, you know. And it's like, you know what I mean?
You're off, you know, and that passion is so alive in you. And you then tested me when we last spoke. You said to me, try and convince me otherwise, and I just will not have it.
No, nobody will
not have it. No one's going to talk me out of this.
No, it's a case of there isn't a doubt in my mind. Like there's absolutely, you know, the biggest object that I will ever overcome is my own mind. And if I can't control that, then anybody else is just going to, you know, walk all over you. So it's a case of I've got to be able to control my mind. And it's not just saying I believe in it. I truly believe in it. Like I've just said to you, all my life I have felt that I'm destined to be somewhere someday, do something with my life. And whatever that is, and that's where it stems from, really, because nobody will ever take that out of me. You know,
no, and that's the thing. It's you're doing something with your life, aren't you? Because when we go back to Stephen Bartlett's book of Happy Sexy Millionaire, you know,
he says
fantastic. You know, it is an amazing book, and
such a fantastic book.
He's setting up, you know, so many opportunities for people to engage with him right now. You know, the reality is, though, he says we've been sold a pack of lies. We're sold a pack of lies about what happiness is, and you are cultivating your own version of happiness, and you're doing it your way. And that's why I wanted to do these series, because you are someone who will light a fire in someone else. It might be someone around your age, it might be someone younger than you, Jordan, it might be someone older than you, but what you're showcasing to people is, if there is a will, there definitely is a way, and you just have to be bold enough.
If there's a loophole in a system, I'll find it, believe you me. Like, honestly, like, I call myself I'm master at wingers, right? Which is, I just wing everything in life. Like, honestly, like, you know, if you sit here and ask me like, oh God, he's smart, this lad, I'm not, I'm thick as two short planks, like, but I just wing it, you know. It's like, I probably am deep down inside quite intelligent, but at the same time, I'm nothing special. Like, I even cringe it when I say, oh, I'm director of STIGMA Clothing and all this sort of stuff, because I'm not. Like, I'm just Jordan from Preston. You know, I'm just this bloody oddball who's never fits in and really just likes having a laugh with people. That's it.
And you know what? You're my kind of oddball, if that's how you want to describe yourself. But I think you're so much more than that. And that's why I do think you're inspiring. And so as we bring this amazing interview to a close, and I'm so grateful that you've soldiered on through after just getting up not so long ago. And that's the thing I do also want to say before we finish this. Neurodiversity, we need to embrace it, because people like you are exceptional, and you're exceptional because you are you, but because you also know how to navigate the challenges that you have in life, your bipolarism, your ADHD, but it makes you exceptional because you have this creative mind. It just means you don't work the conservative hours of 9 to 5. And so we need to accommodate that more in industry, don't we? We need to accommodate the neurodiversity of people.
Yeah, because I used to work, you know, the 9 to 5 fashion with me would never have worked. No. And that's why I've been sacked from so many jobs. I reckon I challenge anybody in the world to tell, you know, has had more jobs than I have under 30. And I mean, I've had so many jobs. And the great thing is that I've been able to get these jobs, you know, because that means that I show a sign of encouragement somewhere in my life.
Yes.
From keep getting employed, you know, but at the same time, holding them down is a different question altogether. One of my best bosses I've ever had was I was invited to his 20th anniversary of his it might be the 25th actually, 20th or 25th of his anniversary of his company. Going and I worked for him for a short space of time, and he invited me, lovely of him to do so. And we'd had a few drinks. It was a free bar, so I'd definitely go in, weren't I? And we were stood there, and I said, "You're all right, Steve." And I'd not long been with my girlfriend at the time. And he turned, and we'd had a few drinks. He went, "Don't want to tell you something about Jordan." And he said, "What?" He said, "Worst fucking employee I've ever had in my life." He said, "But I've always thought he's the one employee that I've had who'll go somewhere in life." Do you know? And it's not just me who is convinced that that's the case. You know, other people as well. And it's always stuck with me, that, because I always thought, you know, nice one. You know, it was
exactly. And I think you have fans in every quarter. I'm a really big fan, and you know, I've just enjoyed every interaction we've had together, online, offline. You're just a lovely person to know, and I genuinely mean that. And so as we bring this to a close, if you had a bit of advice.
It's like in your head, you're probably thinking, "Please shut up, you bloody waffles."
No, I love talking to you, and I've milked this absolutely for every bit, because if this is the last one you do, I want to make sure I got as much out of you. But what if you could? Let's imagine there's someone who's sitting at home who is the 18-year-old version of you before your diagnosis, who just feels like there's no point to anything, or there's someone who's 65 years old, sat at home thinking, "Well, it's a bit late to get going on anything now." What would you say to them as you know, if you were sat having a coffee or a beer or whatever with them? What would you say to them to encourage them, Jordan?
I'd probably say she's at work, you know. She's not home. I'd become my granddad. I would. I'd probably just sit there and go, "I know this one, Bill Murray." You know, and we you know, and when I say that, daft, like, obviously that is a joke, but what I mean by that is I would just be the friend. I wouldn't try and be anything. I wouldn't, you know, if there was an 18-year-old lad sat there now in front of me, and I knew that and had been told by his parents that he was depressed or anything, and I was to sat there and someone said to me, "Can you try and have a chat with him?" You know, and he were watching telly, I'd probably just go and sit next to him and go, "Have you seen this film before? It's all right, isn't it?" You know, and just go, you know, and he might talk to me and he might not. And they go, and if you get that response out of him, you just go. And in the end, I just end up saying, you know, it's going to be all right. Like, I want to be your mate. I'm here. And I can't do that to everybody, and it's hard. But if I literally, I don't want people being left out or feeling different because they're going through something hard in their head. And that is what I'm trying to get to there. Maybe I've not put that point across the best, but what I'm trying to say is that your mate with mental health problems is still your mate, and you wouldn't treat him like that if he wasn't, you know. So therefore, you know, don't, you know, "Are you okay?" all the time. You don't have to ask him that, you know. Call him a dickhead. You know, it's because he's not gonna have a breakdown because you've called him a dickhead, but in a jokey way. You know, like if you say, "All right, you daft sod, how you doing today?" Like, you know, that would be far better than me just going, "How are you? You're right, you okay?" I was sick of being asked, "How are you? Are you all right? How are you doing now?" And I'm just like, in the end, I just wanted to tell everyone to fuck off. You know, it was like, will you just leave me alone? Like, I'm all right. Just leave it, gets you back up, you know. Whereas there's so many different things you could say than, are you okay? Which is, you know, did you see a footy match on Saturday? You know, and that's the way of just asking if he's all right without, you know, saying, are you okay? The words, are you okay? You know, did you watch that film last night that were on telly? Did you know? Speak to them, know what they are about. If you know a person who is not so well at the moment in terms of, you know, mentally, speak to them about something that they like, you know, get them engaged with something, get them finding something that they love doing, yeah, and roll with it and rock with it and try and get that back into their life, because they've obviously lost something that isn't there for them anymore. So therefore, this is the saying that I say is, without the rain, we wouldn't appreciate the sun. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, that's so true. And that's so true. And without the sun and the rain together, you don't get the rainbows. So, you know, that's so true. I just had a friend recently who's been diagnosed with cancer. And I just, I haven't seen her because I've been in lockdown and I've shut myself away just to sort of protect myself health-wise. And I saw her the other day. She was behind me. I mean, talk about laws of attraction. She was following behind me in the car.
Wow.
So I put the hazard lights on, stopped, socially distanced. I said to her, I'm so sorry to hear about your diagnosis. I said, you know what? I don't want to focus on that though. What I want to focus on is being a really good friend to you. So if you want to meet me for a walk, we can talk about any amount of rubbish you like. And we can talk about funny stuff, and we'll talk about all the stuff that you maybe aren't talking about. I said, let me be that friend to you. And she just said, that's just the nicest thing anyone's ever said to me. Yeah. Because actually I'm not going to be able to fix things for her, but people tend, when they don't know what to do, Jordan, don't they tend to sort of go away because of their own fear? They don't know what to say. And
you know what as well, one of the funniest situations that I ever had was I had someone once upon a time where he asked me a lot of questions about mental health, but it weren't like, not like, are you okay type thing, but it was like, you know, like when, like, you know, when you did this and stuff, like, he was genuinely interested. Like, I was like, yeah. You'd be like, what did it feel like? You know what I mean? Like, what, not that he was being patronizing, but he was like, what did it feel like to do that then? Like, because I can't even think. And I'd end up saying something, but I'd end up saying something daft. And we'd laugh so much when you think about it, when you think about the stuff you've done, right? And in end, you know, not to take the piss out of anybody, because I was taking the piss out of myself.
Yes.
But we started laughing about my conditions and stuff, and it's actually, you know, and I'd like be thinking like, oh yeah, like I've got 3 heads and stuff, you know, and all right, I'm not making a joke out of it. I'm making a joke out of myself, and I'm perfectly in my right to do that. And anybody who challenges me on it is wrong, because it's what I deal with. And I was making a joke out of how I'd been, you know. And if you can't laugh, you'll cry. It's about sometimes looking back on your life and think, because I've done some shit in my life where I go, God, you were mental at that time in your life, mate, like proper mental. And again, it's not taking the piss out of anybody else. It's myself. It's my life. I've lived it. If I want to take the piss out of myself, I will do, you know.
And it's about people being more creative with their responses, isn't it? It's about, and that's why we're doing this video as well, because this has probably been one of the most informative videos that is covering around the edges mental health. It's covering stigma, the whole reason that you're behind your brand. And, you know, it's so important, and for people to be fearless, really, you know, and to know that if your friendship's strong enough, someone will say to you, I think you're overstepping the mark, or I don't want to talk about that. But, you know,
because the thing is, Samantha, is I won't sugarcoat it. Like, I refuse to sugarcoat it. I am not here to say it's okay not to be okay and all this sort of stuff, because, all right, whilst those them messages mean, you know, are meant in good intentions, it's the last thing you fucking want to hear when you're in that place. You know, it literally, when I'm in that place and I heard something like that, it'd be like, will you just fuck off? I can't be arsed with you. Like, I can't be arsed with that. What do you
want to hear in that moment then? Because that would be super helpful to people.
You just want a mate. You just
want a friend. Someone
to put your arm around you and just go, you know what? Not even ask you about it. Just go like, you're right, pal. You know, it's going to be all right. And I can only talk from my perspective. You know, it might be different to others. There's obviously a lot of stuff going on, but the feeling of depression for me was I felt very lonely. I felt very unloved, and I really, really wanted someone to make an effort with me, but go above and beyond making an effort with me, and not do it in a special way, but just do it in a way that I am going to become your pal, or I'm going to become someone that is really good to you, and I don't want anything for it. You know, I just want to be someone who is around your time. I'll text you. We'll have a laugh. You know, we'll do this. We'll do that. We'll plan stuff together. We'll have stuff to look forwards to. And, you know, I'm going to deep down keep my eye on you, but I'm going to do it in such a way that I'm going to lift you up. I'm going to make you into something, and I'm going to give some confidence back into you about you, because that's what someone did for me, you know, and it was a case of they had to instill a confidence back in me. They had to get this drive and focus back in me, and it didn't end up happening overnight. It didn't. No. It was months and months and months and months of trying to get to know myself and get myself, you know, to understand what was going on in my head. It was dark nights. It was lonely. It wasn't as if like I just conquered it overnight. I'm still not perfect. You know, as I've said, like, I live with bipolar disorder. This is something that is going to be in my head pretty much forever, for the rest of my life. You know, I have to deal with this. I wake up every morning and I take 2 tablets every morning, right? And there's such a stigma behind these little things as well, because I'm going to tell you now, right, that people think these are like wacky pills or something, like the you know, happy pills. People call them happy pills. Let me tell you something. If you have got diabetes, every day you might have to take insulin, yeah? Yes. If you've got high blood pressure, you might have to take 2 tablets every day that lower your blood pressure, right? That is no different. The truth is, you have a chemical imbalance in your brain, right? And these tablets replace or remove the imbalance. And that's all it is. You know, there isn't no science behind it. There's no, in terms of anything special. They're not happy pills. They don't just get rid of depression. What they do is they normalize my chemicals in my body to allow me to live a normal life, just like anybody who lives with the high blood pressure or anything like that. If you didn't take that medication every day, what would happen? You would potentially end up being in a really, really bad physical and mental state. Well, there's no difference behind these. I'm not ashamed to say I take these every morning. I take 2 at morning, 2 at night. And all they are is a form of medication that just allow me to get through life, just like your blood pressure tablets.
And just like every morning I have to slap on some HRT.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't, because I'm beautiful. I'm not really. But yeah,
so that's it is, and we've got to normalize that, and you are someone who's amazing at that. We got a lot of work to do, Jordan, there's no doubt about it. The conversation is only just warming up, so I'm, you know, we're drawing this to a close now. We've been going for an hour and a half. That's amazing.
Sorry,
you must be ready for lunch. You must be ready for lunch, my friend.
Do you know what my head's like? It's like, I
know you can keep going, but do you know what? It has been an absolute pleasure as always. You make my day when I speak to you, and you send me cheeky messages on LinkedIn and various things. But I am going to buy my hoodie. I hope you do get a discount when it goes through your processing centre. I bet I don't. But I will be happily wearing my Stigma hoodie when I get it, because I really believe in you, and I believe in your passion. I think you are what the world needs more of right now. And it genuinely is a pleasure to know you. So thank you so much for giving me your time. You are a busy guy. Long may it continue. I'm not going to wish you luck, because you've never done anything based on luck. It's who you are. But I look forward to knowing you, keeping in touch with you, and watching your journey progress. And I think you're the sort of person that will never forget where you've come from and how you arrived there. So from me to you, Jordan, thank you so much for giving me your time today.
It's been a pleasure. I'm really humbled by being on here, and I genuinely mean that. So thank you.
Oh, bless you. Well, from me to you. Now, before you go, tell people how they can get in touch with you, and tell people how they can get on your website, because your clothing range is beautiful. I saw your post yesterday with your advertising down the side of a building.
See, honestly, my clothing range is class. Like, I'm not even going to lie. Like, if I was going to plug it right now,
Please do give it a plug. Come on.
Right, my clothing range is sick. End of. Like, it's absolutely class. I love it. Honestly, I've never been in. If someone said to me, "What is better? That, you know, what makes your business stand out better than everybody else?" Well, we're a clothing business, but ultimately, I just think my clothing's class. I buy top quality clothing. I don't wear anything, right, that I wouldn't wear myself. Do you know? I get stuff in, and I genuinely. I start stroking it because of the quality, and I think, yeah, oh, it's so nice. But you've
got like England footballers wearing it. Mercedes,
yeah, Calvin Phillips
with you, haven't they? You've got. I mean, you're big time.
Do you know what the thing is about that? Right, was mental. Was I sent him out for promotion, right? The promotion. unfortunately, Calvin lost his grandma, and
yes, I read that in your post.
Yeah, and it never kind of materialised, which is beyond the question. He sent me a photo of him wearing it, and that was good enough. And all of a sudden, yesterday, I'm on LinkedIn minding my own business, and somebody tagged me in a post. And he sat at the dentist, and someone's taking a picture of him, and he's wearing my cap. And I just thought, that's fucking mint, because that means that not only have you ever sent it him, right, for a promo, but he actually wears it like out and about. That's him in normal life. And I was like buzzing, like absolutely. My ears, my smile just went from ear to ear, and it buzzing.
Brilliant.
Yeah, it's stigmaclothing.co.uk, and the clothing is just mint, like it's just mint. I don't even know how to like describe it. I'm not going to say
it's beautiful. I mean, and when I see the advertising, the people who are modeling it, and you've got real life models, you know, you've got you know, your diversity, your inclusion, it's all in there, you know, and you've got, it's just stunning. It's really stunning. And I saw another guy I know on LinkedIn who you know, is an older gentleman. You know, people across the age range are wearing your stuff. And they love it. And it's a universal concept. And it's all about, if you believe you want to stand up for, you know, quashing stigmas, this is the brand. If you want to make a statement, this is the brand.
This is so important to mention as well, that stigma isn't just mental health.
No,
you know,
it's any stigma.
Is also, you know, stigma is stigma. And that's why we called it stigma, because it's actually like the ironic thing around it is what we're trying to, you know, eradicate from society. But stigma is ultimately a name that was made up by arseholes who believe that you don't fit in with the normal way of society. Well, what I say right now, and we're going to end it on this mic drop, right, is fuck that, because I like being different. End of, you know.
Exactly.
And that's
exactly. So thank you for championing that cause. We need to get rid of stigma, and we need to all do that collectively and challenge our own stigmas around people and our own biases around people. So Jordan Wilson, it has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for giving me your time. And this is going to be posted. So people, get in touch, connect with Jordan on LinkedIn, and buy his merchandise and be part of something super special. So thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome.